Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Just 1 second, I gotta pull up my notes here. Perfect. Afternoon, everybody. So welcome to the third annual Women in Construction webinar. This webinar is obviously about promoting women and getting women into the skilled trades. We are not going to be able to meet our labor demand in the short or the long term unless we're doing more to bring women into construction. And this is our third annual event, and so we need to build on what we've done. We need to recognize the best practices that have worked. We need to recognize what's been successful, but we also need to keep working, and we need to keep up the momentum if we're going to recruit and train and retain the women that we need in construction. And so research has shown that sites need to be ready for women before they get on site. If the site is not ready and welcoming to women before they get there, it shows that you're already behind the 8 ball and you're too late if you're starting to bring things on the first day. It needs to be seamless. It needs to be thought ahead. Everybody needs to be on board. It needs to be a priority from the owner to senior management down to the site. We've got great partnership with the unions that we work with, as well as frontline staff and supervisors. So today's event, there was a lot of work that went into it. I want to thank Ahid and Meredith from RESCON, but I also want to thank the Training and Education Committee. I'm also going to do a quick land acknowledgement, but before I do that, today is about hearing from women. And so I'm really excited for that, because I think the idea is we need to hear about what problems exist, and we need to hear that from the women in construction and the women that are making changes, but we also need to hear the solution that the women in the industry think will work. And so I'm very excited for the webinar today, because it'll give a great opportunity for us to meaningfully listen to what's going on and what are the things that we can do to make meaningful changes. So then, as a quick land acknowledgement, we respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional territories and treaty lands, in particular those of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation, as well as the Anishinaabe of the Williams Treaty First Nation, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis Nation. As RESCON's office is located in Vaughan, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. And with that, I think I'm turning it over to Ahid.
Thank you, Andrew. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being with us here today. We'll kick off this afternoon's session with a keynote address from Minister David Piccini. He's the MPP for Northumberland, Peterborough South, and the Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. So just like for everybody in the construction industry and the skilled trades in general, this ministry is very important to RESCON. Minister Piccini has certainly had big shoes to fill, but he's doing a great job. We've seen a tremendous amount of effort put into promoting the skilled trades, and we've recently gotten an uptake in those who have started to choose the skilled trades as a career. But more importantly, we've also seen a lot of work into ensuring that the skilled trades are more inclusive and more diverse and welcoming to women in general. We've seen the recent mandate for having women's washrooms on construction sites, which codified the best practices that we have in the residential industry. Monty McNaughton had introduced that legislation, and now Minister Piccini is doing a great job at implementing it. We're seeing him spending a lot of time visiting construction sites and just being very active in our industry. So we're very happy to have Minister Piccini participate with us today. And unfortunately, he couldn't be with us live. However, he has sent the recording of his remarks. So without further ado, here is Minister Piccini's message.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for what you're doing to tear down barriers for women joining and staying in rewarding careers in the construction industry. I'm so sorry I can't be there with you today. I would have loved to have joined you, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you in the months and years ahead. Our government, under the leadership of Premier Ford, is on a mission to help more women take advantage of the fantastic opportunities available in the skilled trades. We're tackling the roadblocks that still keep too many women from finding careers that they and their families can be proud of in the skilled trades. And we'd be foolish not to do this. For too long, we've turned a blind eye on the remarkable potential that is 50% of our workforce. We need you, we want you in the skilled trades, and we need you for the schools, hospitals, bridges, and housing we so desperately need. and I'm looking forward to working with you to unlock that incredible potential. We have a lot we can be proud of. For example, we've mandated that there must be properly fitting personal protective equipment for every worker on all job sites, because for too often, it hasn't been available. It's the right thing to do, and everybody deserves to be safe and properly fitting PPE on the job site. It's common sense. Previous governments could have done it. They didn't, we did, and we couldn't have done it without you. We're also requiring clean, warm, and well-lit bathrooms on construction sites. I've heard from too many who have to trek hundreds of meters just to go to the washroom. Again, common sense, and we couldn't have done it without you. And we know that there's more to do, but the steps we're taking are making a real difference for thousands of women and girls across Ontario, and all of you are an inspiration to them. Last year, we saw a 28% bump in the number of new female apprenticeship registrations. That's a remarkable increase and showing that our steps together are working. We're making progress to breaking down the stigma around the trades, as well as chipping away at the barriers that keep women out of them. As I said, there's more work to do, and the work you're doing is crucial to helping ensure that women have access to lifelong, well-paying careers in construction, and that we have an all-hands-on-deck approach. Because only by working together can we make a stronger Ontario that leaves no one behind. Again, I'm so sorry I can't be with you. Thank you for allowing me to deliver these short remarks, and thank you for all that you do.
Fantastic. So I want to thank Minister Piccini for those remarks and his continued support for women in the trades, but the skilled trades in general. I now have the pleasure of introducing MPP and the Minister of Colleges and Universities, Jill Dunlop, so we can add her to the screen. Minister Dunlop has been probably a skilled trades champion her whole life, certainly since she joined government as the MPP for Simcoe North. We've gotten to know her through the Job Talks video series, and I think the work that she's done, whether it was on women's issues, whether it's at the Ministry of Colleges and University or when she was a parliamentary assistant, has been tremendous and been consistent. It is worth noting that colleges in Ontario do a tremendous amount of skilled trades training. And so we are very excited to hear from the minister and very appreciative of all her efforts. And I'll turn it over to Minister Dunlop.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Andrew. And it's been a pleasure to work with RESCON in my time in government, and not just in the work that you're doing to increase the number of people interested in joining the skilled trades, but also your focus on specifically women. So I'm delighted to join you all virtually to celebrate women in construction at the RESCON Women in the Trades event. This is an exciting time in the skilled trades industry, with barriers being removed so women can flourish in the workforce with pride and security. As the skilled trades industry continues to gain momentum, the government is investing more than $1 billion in Ontario's skilled trades strategy over 3 years. Considering our goal to deliver on the most ambitious capital plan in Ontario's history, and as the Minister of Labour said, Ontario needs more than ever skilled workers to help build housing, hospitals, long-term care homes, schools, childcare spaces, roads, and so much more. With the support of Ontario's great post-secondary sector, we are training more and more people and positioning them for successful careers in the skilled trades. I'm pleased to say that in recent years, the province has started to see a rise in women joining the skilled trades. In fact, new apprenticeship registrations for women were up nearly 30% earlier this year. And what great timing, because 1 in 6 new job openings in Ontario is predicted to be in skilled trades related occupations by 2026. But we need to do more to make it easier for women to pursue this career path. Currently, women account for just over 12% of employment in construction in Ontario. And when you consider that almost half of Ontario's workforce is women, that 12% statistics is very telling and unfortunate, because a career in the skilled trades offers many benefits: great earning potential, the opportunity to gain transferable skills, and many pathways to advancement. And you can also earn while you learn, clocking on-the-job hours with your employer while also taking classroom training at Ontario's world-class institutions. Ontario offers many skilled trades programs at colleges across the province, including construction. And in case you need any further convincing of the long-term value of a career in the skilled trades, I'll also note that 1 in 3 workers in Ontario with an apprenticeship certificate are aged 55 or over. So many are nearing retirement. This means the demand for skilled tradespeople will remain high for years to come. And speaking of retirement, in our government's efforts to work for workers, we're also taking action to help skilled trades workers save for their retirement. Some pension plans are offered by unions or associations, especially in industries involving the skilled trades. However, a permanent regulatory framework for these plans has never been put in place. As announced in the 2023 Fall Economic Statement earlier this month, we are consulting on regulations necessary for a permanent framework. A framework that will bring certainty to unions and help protect the retirement security of workers, making a career in the skilled trades even more attractive. All this said, women are often told to look for other careers because there is still a perception that many skilled trades jobs are better suited to men. Perhaps you have seen or experienced instances in your own life which have contributed to some self-doubt that this career path is not for you. But what I want to say to you, please do not be discouraged. It's so important that together we reduce stigma related to the trades and make everyone aware of the amazing opportunities for women. I hope that when you lead this event, there is a change in the perception about this career path. And with some aspiring industry leaders on today's agenda for panel discussions and more, I'm certain their stories will help to inspire the next generation of our skilled trades workforce. A workforce that will hopefully have equal number of women as men, if not more, in the years to come. Thank you once again to RESCON for organizing this important event and for also including me.
Thank you so much, Minister Dunlop, for being here with us today. Next, we're excited to introduce Melissa Young, the Chief Executive Officer of Skilled Trades Ontario. She's here to share her insight on women in construction. Melissa has dedicated her career to the skilled trades and focuses on promoting the trades, harmonizing apprenticeship, developing partnerships with diverse groups, labor and management, and influencing the national landscape for apprenticeship. Skilled Trades Ontario provides opportunities in the skilled trades and promotes rewarding careers in the trades, which supports Ontario's economy. We are happy to have Melissa here, and I'm excited to pass it over to her now.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Meredith. And thank you, Andrew, and everyone at RESCON for inviting me to be here again this year. I really enjoyed last year's event. I actually stayed tuned for the whole event, as I do plan to do as well today. It's important for me to hear what others have to say as well, in order for us to push our agenda forward at Skilled Trades Ontario. So again, it is so great to be joining you again virtually this year to celebrate women in construction. Minister noted that 50% of the population is women in the, or 50% of the population or the workforce rather are women, and 50% of the population in general is women. So we have a long ways to go to meet that halfway point in the construction industry alone, not just in the workforce itself. As a woman that has worked in the skilled trades for over 30 years, this is a topic that's extremely close to my heart, as you can all imagine. It's also a key priority for this government, along with our agency, Skilled Trades Ontario. And I look forward to hearing from all the inspiring women today who are making great strides in Ontario's construction industry. As you know, women are among some of the most underrepresented groups in Ontario's skilled trades. From residential low-rise sheet metal installer to residential air conditioning systems mechanic, there is a growing need for female representation in Ontario's high-demand skilled trades sectors. With record investments in areas like infrastructure, there is no shortage of diverse career opportunities for skilled tradespeople from all backgrounds. As a leading association for Ontario's residential builders, RESCON has been nothing less short than a strong advocate for women in the construction trades. And that's very well shown with myself participating in this event for a second year. By breaking down barriers and challenging stigmas, RESCON continues to bring opportunities to skilled women across Ontario. At Skilled Trades Ontario, we certainly share that goal. A key priority for our agency is to build a skilled trade sector that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive, and one that empowers all people from all backgrounds. This means we strive to build a skilled trade sector that reflects Ontario's diverse population and geography. We are committed to building and strengthening our partnerships to increase representation of equity-deserving groups in the skilled trades. And we will evolve our practices, policy, tools, and technologies to create an equitable and inclusive culture, both externally, however, internally as well within our agency. This priority is featured in our agency's annual inaugural strategic plan, which will guide Skilled Trades Ontario with work over the next 3 years and put us on the right path to build a solid future for apprentices and the next generation of workers in our province. And the full plan is available on our website. As our province faces historic labor shortages, we need to create equitable opportunities for as many people as possible to enter the trades. We need to attract, retain, and develop a workforce that is diverse in talent, skills, and expertise. While we have made great strides in recent years, there's still much to be done to break down barriers for underrepresented groups, such as young women, to discover and embrace careers in the skilled trades. That's why a key priority for us is challenging misconceptions and showing that there is a skilled trade for nearly every passion. Last fall, we co-hosted a series of career fairs across Ontario in partnership with the ministry, and we reached over 13,000 students from diverse backgrounds, along with parents and teachers. And this year, we are doubling those career fairs, and which are currently underway, in double those numbers of locations. So we're doing 10 as to 5, hoping to reach 30,000 students, parents, and teachers. These fairs help us reach a mix of students, including those who have personal connection to the trades, be it through a parent or a relative, and those who have never even considered an apprenticeship or a career in our industry. Our goal is to help facilitate entry into apprenticeship while promoting the skilled trades as a career of choice. Our commitment to reach diverse groups does not end there. Skilled Trades Ontario continues to partner with industry and stakeholders to increase diverse representation in the skilled trades. As an example, I recently spoke at a Women in Trades Leadership Retreat hosted by Sheridan College and a few other colleges and their peers in the Muskokas. This event was designated to empower young women to enter the skilled trades, further advance their careers, and aspire leadership positions. Similarly, at this year's annual Women in Career Coaches event, hosted by the ApprenticeSearch.com, I had the opportunity to share my career journey with more than 500 young women and gender diverse high school students. This annual event connects young women with role models and career coaches in their community to support and empower them as they navigate the professional world. Finally, I am pleased to share that Ontario government has also taken leadership in addressing the needs of women in the skilled trades. Most recently, with the implementation of regulatory amendments that require job sites to have designated washrooms and proper fitting equipment for women, as noted by the minister. Skilled Trades Ontario is in alignment with these changes, and we recognize the need for continued consultation to achieve a diverse, equitable, and inclusive skilled trade sector. As we continue to work towards this goal, I'd like to take an opportunity to share some promising data from the ministry. In 2022-23, we saw more than 27,000 new apprenticeship registrations, which is a 24% increase from the previous year. Of those, more than 3,100 were from women, which is almost a 30% increase from last spring. There were 3,565 total registrations from women in the 2022-23 fiscal year. In terms of completed apprenticeships, Ontario issued more than 9,500 certificates of apprenticeship, an 18% increase in the previous fiscal. These numbers are very encouraging and point to a bright future for diversity and inclusion in Ontario's skilled trades sector. Before I go, I'd like to thank you again for inviting me to speak today. With your continued support, I'm confident we will pave the way for an inclusive, equitable, and diverse skilled trades workforce for current and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa Young, for being with us for the second time. And some of the data that you shared is definitely very insightful in hearing that there's been a 30% increase in the women that have gotten apprenticeships is certainly very encouraging. Next up, we have our first panel of two. This one will be focusing on the state of women in construction. We'll begin by giving kind of a lay of the land, where we'll just be looking at what the landscape of women in construction looks like. So how many do we have in, the key trends and things like that. And then we'll hop into the discussion questions with our panelists. So speaking of our panelists, joining us today on this panel is Bill Farah. Bill is the executive director at Buildforce Canada and has played a leading role in Canada's construction industry for nearly a decade. Buildforce Canada is a national industry-led organization committed to working with the construction industry to provide information and resources to assist with the industry's management of workforce requirements. Buildforce works with key industry stakeholders, including contractors, proponents of construction, labor providers, governments, and training providers to identify both demands and supply trends that will impact labor force capacity in the sector. And they also support the career searches of job seekers wanting to work in the industry. We also have Rosie Hessian. Rosie is the director of Jill of All Trades. She's a dedicated advocate leading a movement aimed at empowering young women to consider skilled trades by creating awareness, providing hands-on experience, and promoting opportunities that showcase the potential within the skilled trades. Through the Jill of All Trades program, Rosie seeks to refine and inspire a new generation of skilled trades professionals. And lastly, we have Dominique Skubnik. Dominique is a managing consultant at Prism Economics and Analysis. She'll be sharing research that she has done for the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, also known as CAF. Dominique has an MA in Industrial Relations from Queen's University and has extensive experience as a researcher in the area of workforce planning, industrial relations, and trades training and apprenticeship. Thank you all for being here with us today. So I'll now turn it over to Bill Farah to start us with our lay of the land.
You're muted, Bill.
Never fails. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here. I'll try and keep this brief because I don't want to take up too much time, although I could probably speak to these issues for hours. But one thing that I have been telling and pretty much everyone that I meet is that there's really never been a better time to be in construction. This is an industry that not only is already operating at capacity, but there's a huge volume of work out there that is coming its way. For young people looking for good, fruitful careers, this is the industry to get into, and we just have to get that message out there. So I'll start just very quickly with some demographics, which just really does speak to some of the challenges that Melissa kind of spoke to earlier, which is the labor force, and the labor force is changing. And I use 1972 as an example here because that was the last time we actually had a positive fertility rate in this country. Since then, we have been below 2 and declining down to about 1.5. So we're not replacing Canadian population through natural population growth. In fact, if you look at the demographics in 2022, only 15% of the country's population is under the age of 15. 18%, and this is actually in Ontario, 18% of the population is now of retirement age or older. I guess they can't really be older, but of retirement age. And while we've been very focused on baby boomers, we're now starting to deal with Generation X as well. When we look at the share of the population between the ages of 50 and 64, that's 20% of the country's population. By 2030, the last of the baby boomers will be out of, or at least eligible for retirement. So we're seeing great shifts, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out over the next 15 years, we're going to have more people exiting the labor force than available to backfill for them. Now, when we look at immigration, and this is partly the reason why governments are so focused on immigration, we're looking at, for Ontario alone, just under 1 million newcomers by 2026. And Ontario typically gets about somewhere between 48 to 49% of all newcomers coming into the country. That's a significant number of people entering into the country that will need to find housing, that will need services. And this is really speaking to some of the pressures that we're currently seeing. Now, when we look at vacancy rates across the province, the average has been about 1.8%. So there's not a lot of available rental stock out there right now. And when you look at it, it's not confined to one specific region. This is pretty much province-wide. And now when we look at housing in general and how well we've been doing since 2018, we've seen a 22% increase in housing starts, but we've seen a negative 3% decline in completions and a 57% increase in the inventory of homes under construction. What this says to me is that we already have labor force challenges in this industry. We're not able to keep up. We're doing our best to move workers around to keep projects moving, but the inventory of homes under construction really does speak to the challenges that the residential sector is already facing. Now, when we look at some of the CMHC affordability targets, and we're in the process of trying to get a more detailed estimate of this, but our view is that CMHC wants an additional 1.48 million homes built, and that is just to restore some affordability. What that means is the completions, and this isn't starts, completions need to rise to just under 260,000 homes a year, which is a far cry from where we're at right now. In 2022, we were at 71,000. We just don't have the workers today to be able to achieve those goals, and we're going to need to bring them in if we're going to be able to meet these ambitious targets. Now, then on top of this, we also have the electrification of the economy and the challenges that's going to place on the industry. Ontario is about 53%, about 53% of the housing stock in Ontario uses fossil fuels or uses natural gas for heating. And heating oil, it's only about 2%, and other sources such as wood, propane, etc., about 4%. But the challenge before the industry is significant, particularly since the federal government would like to see a 40% reduction in emissions from homes by 2030. So again, this is going to place a significant strain on the residential workforce, particularly those directly involved in renovations. And that is going to, again, add to the challenge and competition for skilled talent working in residential construction. Now, some mentions already been made around women in construction. When we look at women in construction overall, about 13.3% of the industry is made up of women. Most of them are working in administrative positions. When we look at the overall share of workers in Ontario in administrative, business, finance, administration, engineering, and estimating, women make up about 51.6% of those workers. But when you look at trades and transportation and equipment operation, only 4.1%. So while women are attracted to the construction sector, we haven't done a very good job of bringing women into the industry in the skilled trades. When we look at some of the top 10 professions where women tend to work by numbers, obviously administration officers, which again would be consistent with the figure I just shared. We don't really see any construction trades until we get to the 7th position, and that's trade helpers and laborers, and then painters, decorators. In general, we haven't done a very good job of making the construction environment welcoming to women, and we certainly need to redouble our efforts if we are going to meet our future labor force challenges. Again, when we look at the overall industry, and we've already discussed some of these numbers, but where are women working? Women primarily are working in the specialty trades. And in terms of overall shares, that isn't surprising, given that the specialty trades do the bulk of employment in the construction sector. But the residential sector, about 27% of women working in the construction industry are engaged in work in the residential sector. The non-residential sector, it's much lower. as is the civil sector. But these are roughly the shares of where women are working. And again, when we look at those professions, many of them are very unique to the residential sector. And finally, when we look at overall just the share of women in the specialty trades, we can see, again, just trades, transportation, and equipment operation. This is just a further breakdown. 32% of women in the trades work in the residential sector, 7.8 in the non-residential sector, and again, 50% of which about half, more or less, would work in the residential sector or engaged in the specialty trades. And again, that's not surprising. When we, again, look at the top 10 professions where women are working, construction managers rise to the top, but then trade helpers. And trade helpers in general make up about 17% of the overall industry. So it's, again, not surprising to see women, a large chunk of women working as trade helpers. That happens to be, in a lot of cases, the entry point into the construction industry, and then followed by painters and decorators, home building and renovation managers and contract supervisors, carpenters, electricians, much lower, and the same with heavy equipment operators. So I guess my concluding message would be that we need to do a much better job, obviously, of recruiting women into the industry if we're going to be able to keep up with the demands that are getting thrown at this industry and be able to rise to those challenges over the next 10 years.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Bill. I'll now turn it over to Dominique.
Thank you. Just give me one moment to share my screen. So good afternoon, everyone. Today, I am going to walk you through some recent data trends looking specifically at women apprentice registrations and completions within the skilled trades. So this chart shows the share of women registrations over recent history at both the national as well as the provincial level. Trades such as cook, hairstylist, and landscape horticulturist are removed from this trend analysis in order to understand the participation rates in the trades where women are traditionally underrepresented. So as you can see, there has been a positive trend in the share of women registrations. Nationally, women represented just over 5% of registered apprentices in 2021, and this is up from 3.8% in 2014. Provincially, women represented nearly 4% of registered apprentices in 2021, and this is up from 2.7% in 2014. So the share of women apprentices in Ontario is below the share that is observed nationally. However, the average annual growth rate in Ontario has kept pace with the national trend. Now, if we take a look at some of the individual trades, you can see that the share of women registrations does vary quite considerably by trade. So in 2021, construction workers and welders had a notably higher share of registered women apprentices. For other trades, including sheet metal workers and refrigeration and air conditioning mechanics, less than 3% of registered apprentices in these trades were women. However, most trades do fall within the range of 3 to 6% of registered apprentices being women. We do see an encouraging trend, though, that across the board, trade programs have seen an increase in the share of women apprentices from 2014 to 2021. So this chart shows the average completion rate for men and women in the 15 largest Red Seal trade programs. Again, cook and hairstylist trades were removed from the analysis to examine completion rates solely in male-dominated programs. So on average, completion rates in these trades are higher for men than for women. In 2021, half of the men that registered in a Red Seal trade completed their program, and this is compared to 35% of women. So this marks a 15% difference. And this is a trend that has persisted historically, as you can see, although the gap has started to shrink in recent years. But on average, the gender gap has been around 15% over the past 5 years. And the gender gap in program completion does vary by trade. On average, women apprentices in industrial electrician and painter and decorator programs, they have a relatively equal completion rate to men. And in addition, the gap in completion is much smaller for the welder trade compared to the other trades. Then there are trades that have a significant gender gap in completion. And these include heavy-duty equipment technician, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanic, carpenter, as well as construction electrician. So these trades may require additional focus going forward to increase those registrations. Or sorry, those completion rates. And that's everything I have for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominique, for that. So now that we have just an understanding of where women are in the industry, we'll start with our questions. So my first question is for Rosie. As the director of Jill of All Trades, you see a lot of young girls who are interested in the trades, and you're kind of trying to promote that, you know, to them and grow the interest within them. What are the common hesitations or concerns that you observe among young women that join Jill of All Trades?
Sure. So Jill of All Trades is a program that we promoted across Canada and across North America to help young individuals grades 9 to 12 attend a college campus and try some trades. So by trying the trades, having that experience, creating that awareness, and actually having them have an opportunity to network with community partners and industry partners and other role models and mentors throughout the day through hands-on learning and 3 different workshops, it allows those students to feel more comfortable. So it's about them being uncomfortable. They're not quite sure if they want to participate in the trades. They're not sure what trades are available to them. Some of them have never chatted with their parents around the kitchen table about opportunities for women in the skilled trades. There's not that role model so that they can, you know, say, oh, aunt or uncle or an aunt has done this, or, you know, the neighborhood, somebody in the neighborhood who has done this. So there's that hesitation where they're a little shy about it to try something. In high school, we hope through the Jill of All Trades to alleviate the barriers where they don't have that confidence in high school. And we provide that by saying, you can do this and you can participate and you actually make something. A short story where, you know, one of our events, the girls are quite shy coming into the campus. It's big campuses that they're attending throughout North America. And, you know, they're disseminating and they're chatting amongst themselves a little bit. But after that first workshop, it is absolutely incredible transformation. They've made something and they take it back and show their friends. They show their teachers who are participating in the workshops. They look what I did. I actually made this and it works. And they get very, very excited. And just creating that confidence and the opportunity to have those different experiences. We've partnered with colleges and institutes across Canada, industry partners across North America, and we're all coming together as, you know, to create this movement through North America and sending the same consistent message through Jill of All Trades. The events look quite similar. We're all offering 3 different workshops. And to say to these young women, grades 9 to 12 coming through, that you can do this, there are opportunities to choose skilled trades careers for them.
Yeah, no, that's great. And pointing out the confidence part, I can imagine how it feels just to create something with your hands and to feel capable, right? So do you have any data or just like in terms of percentages of the girls that did go into the trades after they've done Jill of All Trades?
Not quite yet. We've just started collecting data this year in 2023. But what I can share is what happened last fall in 2022 when we set out across Western Canada and Ontario with 6 deliveries of Jill of All Trades. It was absolutely incredible. We had over 855 young women participate in the events, and that's in Ontario, Alberta, and BC. And we had to match that. And what's really, really important in creating those role models, we had over 730 mentors. So the mentors could be industry partners, employers, plants, different apprentices, students that are in trades at the various colleges. They're helping out in the workshops and providing that, hey, this is my pathway. So we've got incredible participation so far. This year, we're just capturing that information and the data. And soon, in about a year, we're going to be able to tell how this affects these young women's decisions to not only choose those tech classes in high school, which is very, very important to start your journey there in high school so that you can come to a post-secondary institution and enroll in a trades post-secondary program or an apprenticeship and be able to go out into the workforce and be an apprentice or a tradesperson as a female.
Perfect. That's great. And we're also going to hear a little bit more about the importance of mentorship and the role that it plays later on in the webinar. So speaking about mentorship, I'm going to turn it over to Bill Farah. So Buildforce has evolved just beyond a group that provides data. You offer several modules focused on mentorship, negotiation, managing conflict, and so on. So what programs have been successful, or like the sort of modules that have been successful, and what role can such programs play within the industry to help recruit and retain more women?
No, I'm not on mute. Well, the courses that we designed were primarily to support industry upskilling, but also industry development. Most of our courses were designed for management professions, but we do have some safety training courses. And we did undertake, with the support of skill plan, the development of a mentorship course, which is really designed to help individuals, not only the mentee, but also the mentor, understand the learning process better. It's in the construction industry, we often have individuals that are just absolutely excellent at the delivery of their trade, but they're not natural teachers. And so we've then put them together with a young person that is looking to obtain skills and knowledge as part of their apprenticeship, and the relationship is critical, because that's how those young people are going to learn. Sometimes you end up with someone who has been in the industry for 20 years and feels like within 10 minutes they have to impart everything that they know about construction to that young person. And of course, that leads to a blank face, and the individual not asking questions because they feel stupid. So part of our course was really to get at some of these underlying challenges that often exist when we have a mentor working with a mentee, making sure that the mentee understands, I'm supposed to ask questions, and making sure that the mentor understands, once I've delivered instructions, I'm supposed to ask, did you understand? If so, repeat back to me what I just asked you to do. It has to be about making sure that both parties are appreciative of what is being asked, what tasks are being assigned, and whether that relation or whether that information is actually sinking in. And so, again, we have a variety of tools. One is the online course, but there's also additional tools that can be had through Skill Plan for actually tracking the progress of individuals on site through an actual app that allows the mentor to actually grade and track the progress of the individual, but also the mentee to track their progress in meeting the expectations of the training. And that really is important. So I think I've answered your question, but then again, I do tend to ramble on, so maybe not.
No, certainly. And us at RESCON, we've certainly tried out a few of these modules, and they were very great, and we've learned a lot from them. So turning it over to Dominique, from all the research that you've done, is there any specific area within the industry where female participation is like just decreasing the most? You highlighted it in your presentation, but are there any like emerging barriers or challenges that need to be addressed the first?
Well, as we saw from the data, there has been an increase in the share of women apprentice registrations across trades. And for some trades, such as welders and laborers, that increase has been more significant. We've seen initiatives such as the Canadian Apprenticeship Service, which is a program that supports the recruitment of individuals from underrepresented groups, such as women, which has helped increase the first-year apprenticeship registrations across the province. However, to have that growth and translate to the skilled workforce, the focus really needs to also be on supporting women apprentices through to completion. And as the data shows, there is a sizable gap between the rate of completion for women apprentices relative to men. And then in some trades, such as heavy duty equipment mechanic, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanic, carpenter, and electrician, this gap is much more prevalent. In regards to barriers, historically, there has been the stereotype that skilled trades are not for women. And I think we're starting to see a shift in that mentality, but particularly in traditionally male-dominated trades, there does remain barriers for women. For employers, promoting and providing safe and inclusive environments on the job sites, like what was talked about, goes a long way to make women feel welcomed as well as accepted. And the ministers both talked about the including like things such as PPE that's inclusive, and things such as including separate bathrooms or gender neutral bathrooms that can be used. And then also access to childcare has been cited as a main barrier, because women typically require more flexibility in their schedules, or they're unable to work or put in as much overtime as their male counterparts.
Yeah, certainly that last point, access to childcare, is definitely something we've been hearing a lot more in the industry. So we don't have too much time left for this panel, but I want to give each panelist like a minute to kind of give one takeaway or thought that they'd like to leave with the audience. So we'll start with Rosie, and then we'll just go in the same order.
Thanks. So one takeaway, one thought. It's probably going to be a bunch I'll put together, but sure, all colleges, institutions, other folks across Canada, we're all doing something to promote women in skilled trades. I think it is really, really important to start early in that high school age, where they're choosing those tech classes to prepare themselves for post-secondary, to prepare them to enter an apprenticeship or a trades program. And creating an awareness for them that this is possible, what's even different trades that are possible, creating and providing that experience so they can actually get in there, do hands-on and think, build that confidence, and opportunities for networking, to work with mentors, as Bill was talking about. It is really, really important to have those mentors and those role models. Talk to them. It could be an apprentice, another trade student, or somebody that's been working in the industry, female working in the industry, and provides their pathways to the skilled trades career.
Thank you. Bill?
I would echo what Rosie just said. I mean, it's not just women, it's most young people these days have almost no exposure to the trades. But women in particular, and again, for societal reasons, historically, have not been, dad wouldn't necessarily take his daughter to work, but might take his young boy. These are the kinds of things that we have to overcome, because we just can't afford this as an industry, but more importantly, as society, to continue to neglect the promotion of these careers to women, because they are, in most cases, a huge opportunity for young people that are looking for good, solid middle-class careers. Construction is an avenue for that, and we really have to get that message out there. Again, we seem to be doing a good job of promoting careers in construction to women that want to work in a lot of the back office positions in the construction sector. But we really do need to do a much better job of educating women about the tremendous opportunities that exist in field construction. And that's just something that I think everyone is focused on, but is going to take a bit of time, and we can't let up.
Thank you for that. And Dominique?
Just as Bill outlined in his presentation, and Andrew at the beginning of this webinar, the demand for skilled trades people is going to continue to grow. And one of the best ways to fill that gap is not only attract, but retain more women. There's lots of financial supports for employers right now to hire and both retain women. So, as Bill said in his presentation, there is no better time to invest in women apprenticeship than right now.
Perfect. Thank you all for that. I really appreciate you being here with us today, and we've certainly learned a lot from your insights. So now I'll turn it over to Andrew for a quick poll session.
Great, thanks, Ahad. Maybe you can take care of the spotlighting here. So we're going to launch some polls. So we started doing this during our first webinar. And so we've had the same 7 questions. This will be the 3rd time asking them. And we'll check with Bill and Dominique at what point our data becomes significant. But if we keep doing this every year, then this extra data can't hurt. So the first poll question, and I'm going to launch it, and hopefully everybody can see this, is who are you representing? Click the best answer. There's not a wrong answer. And so, RESCON is an association of builders, so that's the first option. TDAs, training delivery agents, anyone related to training. Are you with the union? Are you with government? Are you a non-union worker? But not necessarily identifying as a builder, or do you affiliate as a construction worker or with the sub-trades? Last year, when we looked at the data, we had the majority, so 35% were with the builders, and 29% were with other, followed by non-union workers. So it looks like we've got about 86 in. It'd be nice if we could get a couple more answers. We'll give everybody about another 10 or 15 seconds here. So, okay, it looks like we're coming to the end. Hopefully everybody's figured out how to participate in the poll. If we can get up to 60, that would be great, but it doesn't look like we're going to. Okay, we do encourage you that there is a poll button and it should pop up, but if you can participate, it does help us get the best data we can. So, okay, we're trailing off. So we'll end the poll and we'll share it. So again, our number 1 group is obviously our members, which is great. And then we've got people associated with training, as well as some non-union workers. It looks like we've got fairly good representation. We've got a couple of people from the government. So I think that's great. Question 2. And is this launched? There we go. We'll launch it now. There we go. So question 2. What percentage of women are employed by your employer? We're going to do in office first. So this is your best estimate. It's one choice. So what percentage of women are employed by your employer? And we're looking at in office. So last year when we asked, we had 43% between 25% and 50%, and we had 42% say more than 50%. So I think Bill talked about this. There's women in construction, but right now most of them are in the office, or that's where they predominantly are. So we'll give a couple more minutes here. Looks like we're getting a little bit more participation, which is great. Give it a couple more seconds. It will share the results. And so if anything, it looks like those numbers have gone up a bit. The 25 to 50% has gone up a bit. Go back to poll question 3. We'll launch question 3. What percentage of women are employed by your employer? Now this is on site. So what percentage of women are employed by your employer on site? We asked this last year. The number 1 answer at about 68% was less than 10%. The number 2 answer at around 22% was between 10 and 25%. And it looks like that is holding true with the less than 10%. We will take in the data over the last 3 years, and this will be part of our roll-up. We'll share that with everybody as well, just to see what the participants of this webinar, what's changing, what's staying the same, what's improving, and hopefully not too much is getting worse, if anything, but It's important to be honest with the data that we're given. So we'll give everybody a couple more minutes. I guess a couple more seconds. Okay, and we're going to end the poll. We're going to share the results. And so you see 62% at less than 10% and 23% at 25 to between 10 and 25%. So it looks like there's actually potentially an increase in the number of women on site over last year. Stop sharing that. Poll question 4. Okay, what are the top challenges of hiring more women? Now, this is a click all that apply. So you can click as many as apply. So what are the top challenges of hiring more women? One last time. What are the top challenges of hiring more women? Click all that apply. Not enough women are interested, small labor pool, workplace culture, physical infrastructure, washrooms, change rooms. They have trouble joining a union or other, and you can write your response in the chat and we'll be able to follow that as well. So we'll give everybody a little bit more time. Last year, the number one answer at 43% was not enough women interested. Second was workplace culture. And third was physical infrastructure. Okay. And again, we see a similar trend. So not enough women or a small labor pool is number 1. Workplace culture is number 2. And physical infrastructure is the third. Going to question 5. What are the top challenges with respect to retaining women? Click all that applies. You can click as many as you like here. What are the top challenges with respect to retaining women? Click all that apply. We have not enough female coworkers. They don't want to be the only female worker on site. Hours of work, doesn't work with childcare or other family commitments. Lack of mentorship, workplace culture, physical infrastructure, or other. And again, you can write your response in the chat. Give everybody a little bit of time here. So again, you can click all that apply. What are the top challenges with respect to retaining women? This one was fairly even. At about 20% was not enough female coworkers, hours of work. A little bit behind that was lack of mentorship, and the top reason was workplace culture. So we're going to end the poll and we're going to share the results. And again, okay, so you see the number 1 is hours of work. Number 2 is workplace culture. Number 3 is lack of mentorship. And then number 4 looks to be not enough female coworkers. So those answers are changing, and we'll dissect that and get that information out to the group. Question 6. Is getting more women into construction a strategic priority for your company? This is a simple yes or no. So is getting more women into construction a strategic priority for your company? The nice thing is all these questions are anonymous, so we're getting a fairly accurate snapshot of the membership and obviously all the other stakeholders and partners that we work with. And it looks like it's become an increased priority over last year, which is great. So we'll end the poll. So we have 65% say yes, it is a priority. And the last question. The last question is, are you aware of a mentorship program within your current workplace? Have you participated in the past? So are you aware of a mentorship program within your current workplace, and have you participated in the past? Options are no mentorship program exists in my workplace, unsure if one exists, yes, aware of a mentorship program and participated, yes, aware but have not participated. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes there. And again, with these questions, if you have extra comments that you want to put in the chat, then we can roll those up as well and add that. So give everybody a little bit more time. So last year, the top answer at 50% was no mentorship program exists. And so that's in the poll and share the results. So it seems to be fairly similar to the efforts of last year. Okay, so we're going to stop sharing there. We're going to close it. We appreciate this. And again, we're going to take this and we're going to compare it to the last 2 years, and we'll provide this data when we do the recap of the summary. So I think now we're going to turn it back to Ahid, who's got another panel lined up.
Thank you, Andrew. Sorry. Just make sure I'm muted. So this is our second panel. It'll be focusing on the recruitment best practices and dealing with the stigma in the construction industry. Joining me are 3 accomplished women who are working in our industry. We have Lisa Price. Lisa is an assistant director at the Leuna Local 183 Training Center and has been managing the apprenticeship and skills programs for the last 11 years. The training center holds TDA in 4 apprenticeships and has formal partnerships with multiple school boards across the province. Their latest and very successful partnership is with Oaks Revitalization Association that assists with training justice involved individuals and guiding them towards a career in the trades. We also have Maggie Hall. Maggie is the senior manager for the social impact team at Tridel and leads the development and management of several programs and initiatives, including diversity, equity, and inclusion, social procurement, corporate donations and sponsorships, employee engagement, and volunteerism. She was integral in releasing Tridel's first ever Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan, a series of commitments to support Indigenous inclusion in the supplier network, employment opportunities, and the establishment of the relationships with Indigenous-led organizations. She led in the evolution of the organization's corporate social responsibility mandate to an environmental social governance framework, with Tridel's first ESG report titled Building a Sustainable Future being released in June 2023. Finally, we have Emily Lynch. Emily is a laborer at Tribute Communities and a member of Leuna Local 183. She's deeply committed to fostering inclusive and welcoming environments on construction sites, ensuring they are accessible to women in the industry and anyone interested in joining. Her passion extends to her involvement in a group called Women on Site. This group is dedicated to establishing supportive community for women and underrepresented individuals in the trades, construction, manufacturing, and STEM industries. They host several events throughout the year and with the goal of reducing loneliness experienced through underrepresentation in their industries and ensuring the retention of women and underrepresented people in their chosen trades. So ladies, thank you for being here with us today. We'll start this discussion by I'll ask Emily the first question. So Emily, you currently work on site. So can you share your personal experience and journey working in construction industry and how you've dealt with certain stereotypes or stigmas associated with working in construction?
Yeah, sure. I work for a high-rise builder downtown Toronto, and I'm on my 3rd site right now. I went into the trades, into construction through Leuna Local 183's training center, actually with Lisa Price's help, which is phenomenal, full circle kind of moment right now for me. I got into it because the money is fantastic and the benefits are there. I got a pension starting. I've got dental and all that kind of stuff, care, which is wonderful. On site, I've experienced a wide variety of things, from positive things that are extremely impacting my life in a great way to some negative things which have gotten me to seek out some guidance and mentorship from people, male, female, anybody in the community and who are also outside of the community looking to help people retain people in construction. I have mostly been trying to, I have been overcoming and learning about my masking within construction and trying to be one of the guys. I think that I'm trying to step away from that, especially more recently now that I'm on a site with a extremely supportive foreman, an extremely supportive super, and team that backs me up, even though I'm the only woman on site. Every day I come to work and I am respected and treated like a member of the team, which I am. And that's really been great for me. I've had experiences where I have not been respected on site, and the work culture has definitely contributed to that. But I see a huge change, especially within the last year. Just even walking on site and having a bathroom and a key given to me without any kind of extra burden laid on me as well. So that was fantastic. I've been given tools from day one. I operate the skid steer every day, and I really am liking the shift in the community and the growth that I've had within the last 2 years. Um, Also, like you said, I have sisters and siblings within the trades community with women on site. That's been fantastic. I've learned about places like Jill of All Trades, which is awesome as well to see them here as well. And I think that's where it really starts, is from the ground, from where uh, starting when we grow up, and just treating women with respect from at the age of little girls, right?
Yeah. And I think one thing that stood out is how much the environment that you're working in and the support that you're getting from your employer is helping you kind of, I guess, build your confidence and kind of face the challenges that you might have on site. So that's great to hear. So I'll turn it over to Maggie, given that we're speaking about the role of the employer. So Maggie, you work at Tridel and you're very involved in what Tridel does in terms of the inclusion and diversity and all that stuff. So in your opinion, how can construction companies create a more supportive workplace culture that encourages women to pursue and thrive in their careers?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I have heard from a multitude of conversations that I've had over the past couple of weeks as I've actually prepared for this panel is the importance of top down and having the message be extremely clear from the leadership level all the way down to those who are on site as site supers, general supers, and everything like that, that when women who are on our sites feel as though there is a sense of allyship, that they are safe, that if they need to say something, that they're not personally worried about the repercussions on their career, on then their future psychological or physical safety, that the company is going to actually follow up and do something. I think that's what I've heard has been the strongest and most important thing that we as a developer can do. We don't hire women directly into the trades, so really we're just creating that container of space for women to feel comfortable and safe. And bathrooms are a big part. PPE that fits is a big part. But really, it's just making sure that if something happens, you feel empowered to go to someone, tell them, and that something's going to be done about it. And it's proportionate to the severity of that incident.
Yeah, which certainly plays a big role in retention, right? I think Dominique at the beginning, she pointed out it's great to get the women into the industry, but it's more important to actually keep them in the industry, right? So I'll turn it over to Lisa now about the role of unions. So I know, Lisa, you work with the training center at 183. So from the training center side and from the union side, have you seen an uptick in the number of women that have joined the union? And do you think there's a role for you to play in kind of increasing the, just the percentage of women in the industry, but also preparing them for what's to come, right? Preparing them in a positive way, surely, but also just preparing them.
I definitely think so. And I think that's been the sort of overwhelming response from everybody on this this panel and just overall on this call, is that, having that mentorship and that guidance and getting out there and letting women know, young women, even as young as in elementary school, that there are options for them in this world, and that it is open to them, and there's equal pay for women, and there's good jobs for women, and 6-figure salaries waiting for them. And like Emily said, there's pension, and if you're passionate about something, I think you will always be successful. And I think, like, for an example, Emily is just one of our apprentices that shows that passion for her work. And I think that the training center and the union is important because of our outreach and the ability that we have to reach the school boards, to get through to some of our community partners, some of our Employment Ontario offices, where we say, listen, when you have a dedicated cohort of women that are looking to, second careers, or just young women looking at post-secondary options, our outreach coordinator is there. They're present. They're talking about, the trades in general, obviously focusing on the laborers, but talking about what opportunities exist for them. So I think that we are almost like that supportive parent that's saying, listen, this is, you're coming in fresh and new to us. How can we guide you and show you that this is a good, safe, viable option where you will be accepted? We have diversity and equity training that we've implemented with all of our programs. We talk about it. The union has implemented it. And it's nice to see that more women are coming into our programs. Not as many as I would like to see, but definitely more than when I first started. And I think we're getting there. We're getting better.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And we certainly hear from a lot of people that the union does play as just a safety space, right, for people to come back and be like, this is what's happening, this is how I'm feeling, and they kind of support them through it, right? I want to turn it back to Maggie, regarding the role of the employer. Is there any sort of initiatives that Tredell is currently working on or hopes to work on to kind of create that safe space, but also to hopefully attract more women into the industry?
Yeah, quite a few, but I won't take a lot of time. So one of the things that definitely a lot of the other panelists and speakers have talked about is sort of, starting early, starting young, making sure that you're in those spaces where girls are, making decisions. And it's insane to me that kids who are, in grade 9 have to start making these, decisions on what's going to then form the path for the rest of their lives. I didn't know what I was doing at 25. How would people know if they're doing at 14? But at the same time, we're the principal founding sponsor of the Bolt Foundation, and the work that they do in getting into schools and creating these pathways, with youth who are interested in these careers, and then connecting them with eventual employers. That's really critical to be able to be there and have those conversations, with youth, and showing them that there is a very clear pathway to employment. Another thing that we have and that we've learned absolutely from our work in Toronto community housing neighborhoods, around the city, is the premise that talent is universal and opportunity is not. And so really prioritizing the level of outreach that we do and creating more of those points of connection for people who maybe haven't considered a career in construction. We always, and construction and development, writ large is a really big space to be in, so there's plenty of different avenues for people to get engaged. So that's what we really try to just cast that net much wider, for women, for people who are, underrepresented in the trades. And we've seen a really fantastic response through a program that we have called Partners in Community. That's a dedicated contract schedule that we have in all of our awarded contracts, where we work directly with trades, consultants, suppliers, contractors, to say, hey, if we're going to work together, why don't we support community economic development? And you would be hard pressed in, the 150 so conversations that we've had where people say, what? You're a no cost recruiter? Tell me more. People are so desperate. Companies are so desperate for people that I think our industry can't afford to be choosy. And so to say, construction is what it is, and, you're going to have to adjust and you're going to have to toughen up. I don't think our industry can afford to say that anymore, that there has to be a real shift in mindset of you can't really do business as usual anymore. You got to step up, and you are missing out on 50% of our population if you just listened and made a couple of accommodations. But the great thing is that the people that we've had a chance to speak to through this program are really enthusiastic about that, and those who have hired women are like, send me more. So that's really incredible.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and especially about the shift in mindset. I can definitely say that every time I come across a construction site, I definitely see a woman there, which is very encouraging, right? I'm always very impressed, and just mostly impressed when I see a woman on site, right? Emily, what's the one thing that you'd say to yourself or remind yourself on the days where you just don't feel like, I'm not going to say not enjoying it, but you just feel outcasted a little bit? Like, what's the one thing that you remind yourself of?
I was muted, sorry. I think that I would just remind myself I worked so hard. I've worked so hard to get here, and I worked like 10 times harder than everybody else on site. It feels like a lot of the times, but I know I put a lot of effort into it all the time, and I can't just throw that away. I often say I'm also doing it for the next generation because I wish I had done this sooner. I wish that I'd gotten into construction at a younger age. I didn't really, start until my 29. So I really wish that I had started sooner. And so I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it to help change the culture and change the way that people talk to each other. I'm the woman that people have seen in their 10 years of construction. I've never seen a woman as a laborer or different things like that. So I just tell myself, keep going, keep pushing. You got this. Don't worry.
That's really nice to hear. That truly is. So we got 5 minutes. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to share their thought on if you were to snap your finger and kind of change one thing about the industry to, have more women join or just to make it better for yourself, what's that one thing? So I'll start with Lisa and then we'll go to Emily and then Maggie.
So I thought long and hard about this question because there were so many things that I was like, oh, what about this and this and this and this? And I thought, but the world isn't always rainbows and unicorns. But I think that there's a part on us, and again, getting stretching our outreach even further than we already do, and really pushing boundaries and thinking about things outside the box to really reach out to women and tell stories of individuals like Emily and showcase, which we've started doing with our social media, is really showing people who look like Emily, who've been through her similar circumstances, who thought, maybe this isn't for me. Can I do it? I'm not so sure. And then they see someone like her or some of our other apprentices and say, you know what, I can do it. And the biggest thing I still feel as though the culture on those job sites needs to change. There are certain sectors of construction that I know that I've been told, unfortunately, that, women aren't really, like, it's not their thing here. Like, we don't really have women on site. And I'm like, well, let's try one and let's see what happens. Let's see. I mean, we have a female, individual who oversees all of our apprenticeship field coordination. So she goes out and places successful apprentices with the assistance of the union. So she's out there pushing. And if we have a good female apprentice, she's like, well, let's just give her a try and see. Like, I mean, she's out there selling it. And once they see, like Emily said, when they see that you are just dedicated, you put your head down and you work, like I would tell any of my apprentices, they stop and they say, you know what? Are there more like you? And not that you're a woman, but that you're just a hard worker and you're an asset to that company. And I think that's the biggest change I'd like to see. There's more of that.
Great. Emily?
That was great. I think that respect is the biggest part of the umbrella. That needs to be changed. Work culture comes along with that, and that starts from the very top. Even between guys on site, correcting each other, correcting yourself. When I say, oh no, like, oh, I'm a girl, I can't, what do you mean I can't? Like, my boss corrected me the other day for that, like, you know what I mean? And he has so much respect for me. I said, oh, I'm too weak, I can't do this. And he says, have you seen what you've done on site? Like, you've got this, right? So I think the culture needs to change, and that's the biggest thing that needs to change. There was a really good TED Talk that I listened to by Anika Dodson, who talks about especially women of color in the construction space and how to retain them and keep them, or like how to get them and then retain them, right? And doing like stuff like with Layuna 183's Oaks program, I believe, Lisa. Doing stuff like that is a phenomenal start to changing the culture. And so many guys on site are respectful of me, and it's coming. The change is coming. It's just not something that you can snap your fingers. But hey, we are the unicorns on site, and we're going to do our job. So we got this.
Thank you for that. Maggie?
I think the most important thing that I think of when I think about women in construction is that you can't talk about women in construction without talking about men in construction. That we are so, dependent on this workplace culture, which frankly is dominated by men. So if I were to do one thing, it would be really to have that light bulb moment where you're working with men, where it's less focused on the gender of who does it and more of the aptitude and the skills to do it. We always say, it doesn't matter who you are, it matters that you are hardworking, matters that you're on time, and it matters that you are conscientious and you value the work. Women can do all those things. And where there are tasks that are difficult or meant for stronger people, well, should men be doing those too? That's probably bad for their backs as well. So here's WSIB. So let's do things that are let's think a little differently about the work that's being done and focus on the work, not so much who does it. But the one final thing, and someone put this in the chat, and I think it's really important to talk about the recruitment aspect and getting to girls while they're that was a weird way of putting it, but getting the message out to girls while they're in school about the trades. You need to get to the adults in their lives as well. You need to get to their parents and you need to get to the guidance counselors. So many of them who are showing an aptitude for the trades, maybe their parents are newcomers and they're saying, I came to Canada for you to be a doctor, a lawyer, and an accountant or a dentist. And you need to get to those people and you need to talk to them about how important the work is in the trades and the change that's taking place and that they can be a part of.
Yeah.
I struck a chord with Emily. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Just like changing the language between each other. And when we talk to the kids and everything like that, like instead of being like, oh, that's dirty, don't touch that, or let me help you. You're like, you don't want to hurt your fingernail or whatever, let's change that from a young age. Exactly. Getting to the parents as well and the people in their lives, the aunties, uncles, and grandparents and everybody.
Yeah, certainly there would be a lot of influence if a kid were to go to their parent and say, I want to be a welder or I want to be a framer. And then the parent goes like,
they don't.
Right? That's going to do so much more damage than we can ever think, because the kid's probably going to go to their friends and be like, no, right? So that definitely is a very good point to make sure the parents are also involved in the conversation. So thank you so much for that. Next, we're going to have another presentation and I'll turn it over to Meredith. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. So next, we are pleased to have Kelly Hoey, the Executive Director of the Halton Industry Education Council, also known as HIAC, and her colleague, Michelle Murray, the Director of Operations. HIAC is an industry education council committed to advancing cooperation between business and education in support of workforce and economic development. HIAC focuses on harnessing technology to connect stakeholders and build community capacity. They have created online communities such as ApprenticeSearch.com and EmployerRegistry.ca to support labor supply. So thank you, Kelly and Michelle, for being here, and I'll turn it over to you ladies now.
Thank you, Meredith. And thanks all of our previous presenters, really great presentations today, and also to our RESCON partners for putting this on, and all of the folks that are attending here. So we're just delighted to be asked to be part of this conversation always. HIAC and ApprenticeSearch.com, we have a 34-year history as a not-for-profit social enterprise, but ApprenticeSearch.com that we're going to talk about today is a mobile-first free service that connects employers and job seekers in the skilled trades, and it provides information on the skilled trades pathway. So we started this work 25 years ago. We are now mobile first. We're constantly evolving. We have a people-centered approach that really focuses on intentional matching, and that connects up a lot with the mentorship piece. So we are supported by our job coaches, our job developers, our employment specialists, and the entire team at HIAC to do the work that we do. We have a high volume of people who visit our service, our site, who's talked to our team daily, hourly, because they have heard that there are opportunities in the skilled trades, and yet they lack the network and the connections to find opportunity, or they're unaware of the labor market information in their specific geographical area, or unaware of the different skilled trades that are out there for them that may be they may be well suited to. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the information and the data that we have, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the research that we've done that focuses specifically on mentorship. So I'm going to get right to it and pass it over to Michelle to have a little overview of our data.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, I'm driving and talking at the same time. Okay, so as Kelly mentioned, we have a really high volume of users, and right now across the country, we have over 25,000 users made up of both employers and job seekers. And some of these stats we just wanted to highlight that, 90% of our job seekers are requesting individualized supports when they log on to apprenticesearch.com. And I think in context of the bigger discussion, the panels that we've just heard, this really denotes the need for that mentorship, that need to ask questions, that need to be guided. We know that the skilled trades pathway is fragmented and it can be hard to navigate sometimes. So having people who have the networks and connections and the resources to help our job seekers get to their next step is really a big area of focus for us. Also want to note that 31% of our job seekers self-identify as women or gender diverse. This is a really big stat. We've heard several different stats this afternoon around increase in apprenticeship for women and gender diverse individuals, whether that's federal, provincial, by trade. And we have, quite honestly, a larger percentage when we see the volume of users coming on apprenticesearch.com. So we know that there is a lot of work to do. We know that there's an appetite to get into the skilled trades. And so a lot of the programs and the supports that we'll talk about shortly are really aimed at doing just that and providing those opportunities for women to continue on the skilled trades pathway. And then the last thing I just wanted to note is that 40% of our job seekers identify as newcomers. So, Minister Dunlop, I believe, between the newcomers and the women, there is a lot of opportunity there. And so making sure that we recognize how many people are reaching out with interest, and those are the individuals that these supports are really meant to do just that. So here is a stat that we felt would be really important for this group in particular. As of October 2023, we have almost 15,000 users of our 25,000 users, either looking for work or hiring within the construction sector. And so, we know that we've seen growth in all of our sectors across apprenticesearch.com over the last year. And so I think ultimately for us, these numbers really denote the need out there, that we know we need to build more affordable housing. We know that housing is a priority of provincial and federal governments. And also there is significant interest. There was comments in the chat. All of our panels have talked about the fact that there are people interested. Again, it's just coming back to navigating. But we have just shy of 59% of our job seekers having interest in the construction sector, and almost 70% of our employers are posting for positions in the construction sector. And now we're going to talk a little bit about kind of our data insights from a national perspective. And although we recognize that RESCON is, provincially focused, we have a real opportunity to do more across the country as well. And so Kelly had mentioned that when apprenticesearch.com started almost 25 years ago, started as a very small project, spread out to a provincial system. And then we went national in September of 2022. So you can see that in Ontario, we have a significant amount of users. And these are actually just new users over the course of the last year. We know that about 15,000 total, we have users in Ontario specifically. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about the research component that we're going to provide some insights on. And this really informs the work and the programming that we do to break down barriers.
So you can see that with this, we are quite rich in data. With this data and our history and our presence in Ontario, we have a real opportunity to unpack what some of our users are telling us. And it is this is just a small segment that we're going to show in this brief segment today, but we want to talk about some of the research that we've done. Thanks to the Government of Ontario, we were able to chip away at some of this with different projects. But one of the ones that we wanted to look at today was our avenues to apprenticeship. So we were looking at people who were pursuing a career in the skilled trades, securing an apprenticeship, securing employment, and completing a career in the trades. We wanted to look at what people were telling us along that pipeline. So we opened our survey up and had 372 responses that we heard from across different sectors in the skilled trades from all over the Greater Toronto area. What the research told us, we heard specifically from women that 63% had reported being told at least once that they did not belong on a job in the skilled trades. 72% reported that they had been the only person of their gender on the job site or in the learning environment. 67% of women reported experiencing inconsistent work, and 57% told us they could not afford the cost of tools for work. So our numbers are going up despite the circumstance here that we're seeing a lot of challenges. If we can expand just a little bit on our BIPOC respondents, 67% had heard negative comments made about them. 53% felt they were treated differently because of race or ethnicity, and 48% felt left out of workplace activities. Now, also, you have to recognize the intersectionality of many of our users. Many of our applicants would identify with multiple equity deserving groups. And so we don't factor in intersectionality here. These are just folks who identified as women and applicants who identified as BIPOC. So when we look at this research, the reason we're doing it is because we want to understand, what does mentorship look like? What does the solution to some of these very high statistics that tell us that there are many, many good things happening, and there are many employers, and I'm sure lots of them that are on this call and that we heard from on the panels that are doing exceptional things and moving mountains. And Emily, you said it so well when you said being treated as a member of the team because I am. Right? It is as simple as that. Women, BIPOC, every equity deserving group is an equal member of the team. So these are, it's difficult to do this research sometimes because we're all working so hard on what we're doing. And we see the dial moving, but we also have to recognize that without a culture of mentorship in a workplace, it's very difficult to move the dial on these things. So if we can flip to the next slide, Michelle, we're going to talk specifically about the mentorship findings within our research. So 46% of all of our survey respondents reported partaking in at least one mentorship experience. So those are folks that are engaged, and that is really, engagement is so key. 1/4 of the women consider a former teacher a mentor, more so than other groups. Within the BIPOC community, 1/4 considered a friend a mentor. We consider apprenticeship the original form of mentorship. And I know I've said that a million times to people that are on the call and have heard us speak before, but we have a lot to learn from apprenticeship about mentorship. So we need to turn that back around and really bring some of those fundamental principles back about having a good fit in the workplace with an employer and an apprentice or a journey person, having a community, having the self-advocacy skills to speak up. And so 83% of our folks who have access to mentorship reported they would not have been able to succeed on their path without the support of their mentor. That's a really high number. 92% said who had access to mentorship reported they learned something from their mentor they would never have been able to learn without them. 93% who participated in mentorship type relationships reported that their mentor helped them become more confident at work. And it goes back to that self-advocacy, being part of a community and feeling supported. 94% of respondents who had access to mentorship would recommend that all apprentices have a mentor. And many of the folks today have spoken about that.
Absolutely. And just before I go to the next slide, I just wanted to reference the poll that was done recently around retention, where it said that 63% lacked the mentorship opportunities on site. So you can see, the supply and demand side of the equation for providing more opportunities for mentorship. And that doesn't always have to be at the workplace, just people to advise and lean into. And so really that scope of work in our research really was the basis of us doing a lot of our programming. We recognize that we can't break down every barrier, but there are some things that we can do that can really help move the dial even further. And so the first one was our Women in Skilled Trades Peer Mentorship Group. This is a group that meets monthly. You can register just beforehand. You can register for all of them, but it's a really flexible schedule. There's always a keynote speaker, but really it's come one, come all, and let's share in this experience of being quite often the only female on the job site. We had a woman join us who was discussing kind of her workplace and how currently somebody that was male that was in the same kind of pay grade was actually getting $10 more an hour, even though they were doing a similar scope of work. And through this peer mentorship group, the other ladies advised her, gave her some strategies, and she was able to go back to her job site and negotiate that same rate of pay. I don't know that would have happened if she didn't have the opportunity to kind of connect with other tradeswomen, learn from their experiences, and really come together as a community to collaborate on a strategy for her to go back to her employer with. Emily, we would love for you to come out to our Women in Skilled Trades Peer Mentorship Group. Everything that you talked about as part of your panel, I feel is really important in bringing that back, especially to newer tradespeople, tradeswomen. So please keep that open as a potential for your future, because we'd love to have you there. Something else we're doing is a program called Gateway to the Trades, and it is a self-directed 5-module program. Really, the conception came out of recognizing that a lot of people are interested in the skilled trades, many of them women, but not knowing how to really start. We don't really know what trade is best suited to us. We don't even know what all of the trades are. And so it's a real opportunity to work with people who are very familiar with skilled trades and apprenticeship and to get some things under their belt, things like tools, PPE, safety and certification training, better understanding what is the pathway to getting your C of Q, and really better understanding things like financial literacy and saving for things like block release. And we also do a lot of work around something called math therapy. A lot of people are interested in pursuing the trades, but math can be a bit of an Achilles heel for a lot of folks. And so approaching it from a one-to-one and meeting people where they are and really working with them to build their confidence. Ultimately, this program is an opportunity to build up confidence. When people arrive at a job site, they feel like they belong there. There's also a wage subsidy included. So if you are an employer who is looking to hire, please do let us know, because we're able to cover up to 50% of the wages to a max of $5,000 if you bring on a participant in our Gateway to the Trades program. The other thing is just bringing industry to these people. They don't know where to find them. They don't know how to advocate for themselves always. So we've been running a series of industry networking groups on a regular basis. It's really based out of our lens within the supply and demand of ApprenticeSearch.com as well. So if we know applicants are really looking for a particular sector and or employers are looking to host people in a particular sector, we can bring those individuals together to better align the supply and demand. And this has been hugely successful. I know we're short for time, so just very quickly wanted to note the Canadian Apprenticeship Service Program. This is a federal investment of up to a $10,000 grant per apprentice, and there is a focus on the construction sector. And so here are all the eligible construction trades. They are probably not so easy to see on this slide, but we can absolutely backfill with a easier to read list. All the information for the Canadian Apprenticeship Service is online on ApprenticeSearch.com. So you can register as an apprentice. If you're an employer looking to hire a level 1 apprentice, please do log on and we can send you all the particulars there.
Michelle, I'll just add that the Canadian Apprenticeship Service program that we're running is in partnership also with BuildForce on the call, and that does come with the mentorship app that has been quite well received with our employers. It's a great opportunity to take those resources and invest them in the time that the journey person is using to help mentor that person, or the resources that are out there to support that. So I just wanted to address sort of one of the comments in the survey where we're looking at not enough women being interested, and we know that it's not often, it's maybe not a shortage as much as it's a mismatch. And so we know that our numbers tell us that there's about 6,000 women that have reached out to us and logged on apprenticesearch.com to say they'd like to work in the skilled trades. So if we can help any of you employers connect to them, we'd be happy to do that.
For sure. And kind of a last note here within regard to the Canadian Apprenticeship Service, 15% of the grants that we've dispersed, that being about 2,000, have gone to employers who have hired women. And 89% of the grants dispersed have been in the construction sector. So please help us continue to raise awareness of that opportunity. You know, there are lots of people looking, and we're happy to make those connections.
That's it for us. Thank you for your attention today.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Michelle and Kelly, for being with us. Sorry, 1 second. We'll just do a few closing remarks. So we've always learned so much from this event. We do it every year, and every time we come up with a few great pointers. So we've heard a lot about the need to have more women in the industry and just how to do it and how to face some of the challenges that they have to go through. A few things that certainly stood out are promoting the trades early on, making sure that the parents are involved in the process. Building the confidence is a big part of it, and also the role of the employer to, you know, empower these women to face these challenges and feel respected and feel seen in the workplace. So thank you again for being here. At the end of every webinar, RESCON makes a donation to a related cause. This year, we'll be making a donation to the Women on Site program that Emily has introduced us to. So we're really happy to do that because we truly believe in the cause of their grassroots efforts to create a safety net for women in the industry. So thank you, Emily, for being with us and for introducing us to your group. There will be a recording of this shared on the RESCON website, and it's also going to go in the post-event summary that we share. And you'll also have access to speakers information and slides and everything. So it'll be in your inbox by tomorrow. Coming up next, we have our 5th annual Mental Health in Construction webinar. It'll be on November 30th. We've put the link in the chat several times, and we'll do it again now. So if you haven't registered yet, make sure to do so. And that being said, thank you again very much, and thank you to all our speakers, and we'll hope to see you soon.